Thank you all for coming and for being quiet while we tried to begin. Hello? The left wing. Oh, look who's walking in the middle. Could that be Chaver Knesset Landa? Anyway, we're happy to have you here no matter what. We really have some wonderful people joining us tonight from various parts of the world. It's a very distinguished evening, honestly, and we're really fortunate in this first conference to be held after COVID in Israel that they've joined us, and the significance has not been lost on any of you. As you heard, everybody from the Prime Minister and the ministers who have addressed us today, the Foreign Minister, all of them highlighting the importance of the Abraham Accords and those countries that have chosen to move their consulates, or embassies rather, in one way or another, to Jerusalem. And so we are really grateful that you're here, and we have an amazing panel that you'll hear from in a few minutes. We're going to serve this course. Then between the courses, you'll get the main. So don't worry, you'll get fed. It's the first thing people in the President's Conference worry about. What am I eating? Am I going to get it? Everybody will get fed, and both spiritually, intellectually, and physically. This is a remarkable event, as you know, and it was held every year for, Carolyn, 47 years. And anybody who remembers the first one, please stand up. But even Norma Holzer wasn't at the first one. But this is really a remarkable record, that with the exception of last year, we have never missed a year. During wars, during conflicts, during problems, we have come because it's a symbol of the close relationship between the American Jewish community, the American people, and the State of Israel. And now, this evening also reflects the close relationship we feel to those countries that have stood up, acted courageously, and have demonstrated it in tangible ways by establishing diplomatic relations. And we have here several ambassadors whom you'll hear from, and also by those who have established a permanent presence here in Jerusalem. Nothing could be more important. Jerusalem is the center of the world. It's Ir Shechubro Lo Yachdav. It's the city that unites us. No matter our faith, our geography, Jerusalem is the place that brings us all together, unites us as one. And we are very grateful that we could come together, break bread, hear from and learn from each other tonight. So first, we want to welcome everyone and ask you all to welcome a very special new friend we've made. I got to know him on his first day or second day that he was in the country and staying in the Hilton in Tel Aviv, where the Zuckerman Foundation had an event, and it was just luck that we got to meet, and we spent a great deal of time. He's somebody you bond with immediately. He is Khalid Yusuf Ahmed Al-Jalama. He is the Bahraini ambassador to Israel. He was appointed as the first ambassador in March of 2021, so it's not a long time. He's been serving his country with distinction both at home in Bahrain and abroad since the early 2000s, though he looks much younger than that. He worked through the military ranks. He's had a distinguished career as Director of Government Relations at Bahrain's Supreme Defense Council, and his final position at the Defense Force was the Supreme Defense Council Secretariat General. He has served in many important positions, including as the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Kingdom's Embassy in the United States for 4 years, and on completing that post, he served in several positions at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is really a distinguished representative of a distinguished country for which we have very strong feelings. As you know, there's been a Jewish community in Bahrain steadily. There's a synagogue there. I hope all of us will get a chance to visit. We had planned and regret that we had to postpone it because of COVID, but I promise you we will make it up. Mr. Ambassador.
Evening, everyone. Let me start by thanking the Conference of Presidents for inviting me here this evening and for putting together this very important event. For those of you who are visiting Israel, welcome. The welcome and warm welcoming that I've received here has really made me feel like I'm at home, and I feel I have the obligation to pass on that warmth and that welcome that I felt. So again, welcome to the State of Israel. We've taken brave and historic steps to establish this new relationship, but we're only very early on in a long journey to strengthen and build relations when it comes to the economic fields, when it comes to our government ties, and beyond. So it really is very encouraging to see the support that we have from organizations such as yourselves. We have a long way to go, and we have a lot to do. And I think the more support we receive, the more we'll be able to achieve, and the faster we'll be able to achieve it. Bahrain has signed many MOUs and agreements. We've made it a point to sign as many as possible with every official visit that takes place, which means that with every visit you see there are multiple new areas of cooperation that have been agreed upon. We've already made use of many of the agreements and the MOUs, especially in the medical and economic fields, but we still have a lot more to do. And I'm looking forward to working with you all and to find ways to cooperate and find ways to strengthen and fortify these new relations. Thank you very much.
We look forward to seeing you here many times and to establishing an ever deeper relationship. We also want to welcome the members of the delegation, the Deputy Chief Mission, and all of those who are here from Bahrain. Thank you all for coming. You can applaud them. Now, this group has a special affinity. Well, we have affinities to a number of places, but a special affinity, I would say, to Morocco. It is something that we feel deeply from several visits that the Conference of Presidents made, where even the king hosted us in an unprecedented thing, thanks to Abdul, in the palace. And we saw a spread, not even in the 5 towns do they have a spread like that. That was really amazing, from wall to wall, kosher food, specially prepared. And he flew in the whole government. They were in Africa. He flew them back to be at this dinner. And it was only one of many events and of several trips that we have made to Morocco. I see the nodding heads from people who will all tell you that this was one of the great experiences of all of our lives, and to see the warmth, the hospitality, and how it's been translated by His Majesty, not only in adopting the Aladdin Project and Holocaust education and holding Holocaust Memorial Days, changing the textbooks, redoing all of the Jewish cemeteries, which he paid for, and we saw some of them, and now redoing many of the sites of Jewish historic significance around the country. In fact, when we were there, there had been a bombing and they rededicated the synagogue, and he found out that the names of the streets had been changed from their Jewish names to general names. He ordered it all back. And Frady and I walked on Synagogue Street to this Rabbi Street, to that Rabbi Street, all at the order of His Majesty directly. And his father had a relationship with us, but it grew much greater under the current king, and translated by the people who were in the diplomatic corps over all of the years. Even before there was diplomatic relations, there were relations. And sometimes it's better when it's not public, because they can become rivers that run by it, run deep, right? Something like that. And you can also drown in them if they're too deep. But the opposite happened. It flourished in every respect, and it's flourishing now. And as you know, there are going to be direct flights to Morocco from Israel, and from Israel to Morocco, because they have to go back to get the people. And it's going to be, I think, the dawn of a new era of relationships. Jews in Morocco have a long history, perhaps going back to the first temple. Many believe that when there was the dispersion of the Jews around the Mediterranean, they came there, and I learned through Abdul about all the history of the Atlas Mountains and the Jews and the connections that existed, whether proven or not, but we claim them all, and we're happy to have a big family in Morocco. Representing them here is Abdurrahim Bayoud, who is a very distinguished member of the Moroccan Foreign Service. He was head of the liaison office of the Kingdom of Morocco in Tel Aviv. His diplomatic career spans over 30 years and 3 continents. He served as the first secretary of Morocco's embassy in Washington, D.C. before becoming advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation in 1999. He later served as Deputy Consul General in New York and London, before appointments as Consul General in Amsterdam, in London, and 2 stints of head of North America and Caribbean States Division of Morocco's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So as you can see, they chose the best to come to the best, and we are very honored to have you here, Mr. Ambassador. Please join us at the podium.
Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The best thing about being a speaker is you can be exempt from the mask, so you can remove it. And I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude and thanks to Mr. Malcolm and to the Conference of Presidents on behalf of my colleagues here from the liaison office of the Kingdom of Morocco in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much for inviting us here. And thank you. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. The table is here. So, thank you very much for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to talk to all these distinguished personalities today. Mr. Malcolm, thank you for the wonderful expose, but you left nothing for me to say about Morocco. You've said it all.
You can talk about us.
Yes, I will. So today I would like to thank you again, because you are celebrating with us exactly 1 year of being here in Tel Aviv, in Israel. Because we came in, me and my colleagues, last February, and it's exactly 1 year. 1 year I came for the first time and knew nothing about Israel. And since we came, because you know how many people from Moroccan origin are in Israel, we had to go from north to south, from east to west, and to meet everybody, because if you don't, some will be upset. So we've been to Eilat, we've been to Yorecham, to Afula, to Akka, to Haifa, everywhere. So we came first, we don't know anything. Now, if you want us to tell you about places, please welcome, and we'll. And that's an asset, and that's a foundation on which His Majesty, the King Mohammed VI, built on these relations with Israel, because our kings, the present king, cares for the community wherever they are, and all our kings had very good relations with the Jewish community that lived in Morocco for 2,000 years, and they experienced all all the care and the protection that the grandfather, our king, gave to the Jewish community in Morocco. So as you said, we've been cooperating in all fields, from agriculture to technology to water. I'm not an expert in sciences or in technology, but I see what's going on today. There was a signature of the economic agreement. Your minister is in Morocco. She's enjoying her time there. We have many visits, Mr. Lapid, and the signing of many agreements, the defense. So you name it all, you've did a good job, Mr. Malcolm, to name everything, the flights that, so all this in 1 year is really something that's amazing. And we're not gonna stop there. We're gonna continue to strengthen our relations and to look for more fields of cooperation. And with the help of all, we have a promising future. And I thank you very much for the invitation, and good luck on your next conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And on behalf of William and myself, we accept the invitation to come to Morocco. For those who didn't hear it, it was given in Arabic, but we got it. So thank you very much. I want to introduce one more person before we have another very special guest and friend. We have here Ambassador Ines Demiri, who's the Charge d'Affaires of Kosovo, which has opened an office just a block away from here in Jerusalem. She was the former Deputy Consul General in New York and has had a distinguished career in the Foreign Ministry of Kosovo. I'd like to ask her if she would come and give a greeting.
So, first of all, honorable guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, and especially Mr. Darov and Mr. Malcolm for this invitation, and to be here with all of you and to tell a bit about Kosovo and Israel. Kosovo and Israel, first of all, Kosovo, February is a very special month, which has a lot of historic dates. And the first one, just 4 days ago, we celebrated our 14th anniversary of independence. And we were highly honored with the presence of many high dignitaries. The ceremony took at the Embassy of Kosovo in Jerusalem, but also the presence of the Minister Matan Kahana honored us deeply. On the other side, we have another historic date in February, which is the 1st of February, is the day when the Republic of Kosovo and the State of Israel established their diplomatic relations. And this happened through a virtual ceremony that history had never seen because of the hard conditions with pandemic. And next month also we are going to celebrate the first anniversary of the opening of the Embassy of Kosovo in Jerusalem. I have special thanks. I'm coming from New York, where I served for 4 years there as a Deputy Consul General. And I work very closely with all the Jewish organizations there. I'm not going to mention all of them, but they were, I want to thank them on behalf of Kosovo and on my personal name for their help, their support, the crucial role that they play to bring the two countries closer. The recognition of Kosovo by Israel, it happened at a time when we had the Abraham Accords that I used to congratulate. This is an historic achievement for all of you, for Israel, for the entire Middle East. But at the same, more or less time, we also had an agreement which was economic normalization agreement with Serbia. And inside this agreement was the recognition of the state of Israel, of Kosovo by state of Israel. And for this, we are deeply thankful to the US leadership for making this historic achievement possible. I can proudly say Kosovo was devastated by a war in 1999, but today Kosovo is recognized by 117 countries, and we are a member of more than 60 international organizations. And besides that, we are each day achieving progress in many other fields, as it's sports, in the film industry, and many, many other topics. Kosovo in Israel during this 1 year, and during my presence here for 1 year, it was, despite that I had to start everything from scratch, and despite the challenging circumstances due to you are building everything from the beginning, and from the lack of diplomatic relations that we had for so many years, it was just wonderful. I am impressed by the interest of the Israelis to work, to learn, first of all, more about Kosovo, but also to work closely with Kosovo. We were able, during the last year, to sign many agreements, and in between them, we signed agreements between our chambers of commerce, but also there were some agreements signed in the field of innovation. And we hope that the next year, this year actually, will be a year of more visits from both sides that they are planned. And I think this exchange of visits will help to bring the both countries even more closer and to deepen our cooperations in many, many fields. I just want to say you the last thing. I want to share the fact that Albanians and Jews have a very special bond, which is dating back to the history, which is dating back, first of all, to the 15th century, when the Jews from the Inquisition time from Spain and Portugal, they came and lived and settled in the territories of Kosovo at that time. They built their life, they had their own synagogues, their yeshiva, their Jewish municipalities. They were active members of the society. And besides the languages of the countries that they came from, they also learned to speak the Albanian, the Serbian, and the Turkish languages. During the Second World War, during the most difficult time in the history, it was the Albanians that they helped a lot of Jews saving their lives by in different manners, by transporting them to Albania, which at that time was the safest place for the Jewish people. But on the other side, there were also, besides saving all the Jews, many of them, there were also deportation of 258 Jews to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Why I'm telling you this, I am also the daughter that belongs to both Jewish and Albanian nation. My grandmother, Ruth Bahar's life was saved by my Albanian grandfather. And on the other side, her entire family, unfortunately, was deported to Bergen-Belsen. So this is the story of Kosovo with its Jewish community. But I'm also proud that many Albanians are listed among the righteous among the nations in Yad Vashem because of the noble deeds, the noble acts that they did everything what they can do to save the Jewish people. Kosovo is working a lot on the Holocaust education, on being a member of the big family of IRA, and on many, many other topics. And the government of Kosovo is also giving a special attention to the Jewish community, that is a small community for the moment, but soon it will be with its own Jewish cultural center and synagogue in the most historical city of Prizren in Kosovo. Thank you for your attention. And
The first Muslim-majority country to establish a presence in Jerusalem. So we're very grateful and for the history as well. It was very moving. Last night you were treated to an introduction to the very special ambassador who represents us here in Israel, and us means the U.S., as well as all of us. He's been a friend of ours for decades. We've worked together, we have fought together, we've agreed together, but he's one of our great friends who's occupied many important positions. I got to know him, I think you were working for Tony Coelho, right? Was that the beginning? Or, well, you'll say. And he's had such a distinguished career and was the Deputy Secretary of State and served the community's interest and Israel's interest in really amazing ways that someday when I write the book I'm going to tell. But he was really a very special friend throughout. And I think this is a culminating, he had a very distinguished career on Wall Street, but he gave it up. The pay is not as good being an ambassador here. It doesn't even pay the taxes on his salary, but he was very rich. He he gave it up really out of a sense of dedication and to service, and picked this particular place. He could have had any job he wanted in this administration. But this is a place where he can make a difference, and we know that he will be a great friend and advocate for the United States and for Israel in the U.S.-Israel special relationship. So Ambassador Tom Nides, would you come up?
Okay, I just sent a text message to William up here. He said, "You guys are starving the Jews. What are you doing? They want to eat." Okay? Okay, I promise you this won't be very long. Nothing like being in front of the food. And the food is in front of you, which is terrible. If you want to eat, go eat. It's fine with me. I've listened to worse. Let me just say, I think I told, look at, they're serving you right now. Let me just, see, they realize what I was saying. Let me just say, I said this yesterday, and for many of you who I think were here yesterday, were most of you here yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat myself. These guys are my friends. The idea of this organization, as you know, was set up a long time ago because one president was tired of dealing with all these separate Jewish organizations. They said, please just have something, like a trade association for the Jews. Let me just tell you something. These guys are the best representatives for the Jewish community as a whole, not only in the United States, but international. I can emulate what they do because, as I said yesterday, there's a lot of different views in here, in this room. Every issue, there's a different view of what should be right or wrong. But all of us have the same view of doing what's right for a strong democratic Jewish state, and that's what I want to focus on when I am ambassador, and hopefully you will say at the end of my term, whenever that might be, if I don't get thrown out of the country, is, I was like, well, it was like Malcolm and William, they balanced this the right way and they kept people together, and we had a single goal, and we tried to achieve that goal. And that's what I'm focused on. And I'm committed to all my might to do the right thing. And William interviewed me yesterday on a few questions, which was helpful, but I just want to say just one thing. I think I said this last night. I have a North Star, and the North Star is a democratic Jewish state. That's it. That's it. There's nothing more important. And that means, as I said last night, I'll see anyone, I'll talk to anyone, I'll go from, B'nai Brak to Nazareth and everywhere in between. It doesn't matter to me. If it's good for Israel, if it's good for a democratic Jewish state, I will do it. People may not always agree with me, but you know where my heart is. The Abraham Accords, okay? The Abraham Accords. I remember when I got nominated, someone said, are you guys going to be ready for the Abraham Accords? Is Biden into the Abraham Accords? Does he really like it? He won't even call them the Abraham Accords. He only call them normalization. Nonsense, okay? Nonsense. The president has been fully and completely supportive of the Abraham Accords. My job is to go deeper. The White House is going to go wider. The idea I get to hang around with my pals from Bahrain and Morocco and the Emirates and Kosovo is really cool. I'm spending more time with these guys than my wife. because it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes Israel a stronger democratic Jewish state. It helps the friends in Bahrain. It helps our friends in Morocco. It helps our friends in the UAE. It helps our friends in Kosovo. Let us not forget Jordan. Let's not forget Egypt. They were early supporters of normalization with Israel. We all benefit. We all benefit. This is not just it's good for the Middle East. It's good to understand and spend time. You know, as my friend from Bahrain will say, you know, it's all about people to people. Yes, there'll be deals, there'll be money made, deals will get formed between the Emiratis and the Bahrainians with Israel and back and forth, and people will make money. I'm totally fine with that. But it's about the people-to-people piece of this. It's about the community. It's about people understanding what it's like to be in Israel and get Jews get on planes and go to Bahrain and realize what it's like to go to Bahrain. It's like the Emiratis saying, okay, I want to come, you know, to the Temple Mount. I want to see what's going on in Israel. So I am focused on trying to make this practical. As you may figure out, I'm a practical guy. And I'm trying to do things that we can get done. So we're doing a big event, hopefully, at the end of the month in the Emiratis, in the UAE, for part of their expo, which we're going to focus principally on culture. We have a couple of little surprises that we're going to hopefully pull off at the end of March, and hopefully to show what it's like to have these communities working together on culture, on sports, on food, on music. By the way, the Moroccan ambassador is a great singer. Okay, I don't want me to sing. Okay, I won't make you sing. But let me tell you something. I'm getting to know these guys, okay? He's not only a spectacular diplomat, he's also got a whole music thing to him. So I am, as I get to know folks, I realize all the skills they bring to it. So we are focused in all of our might, and I speak for the President and the Secretary of State and everyone in the United States government. These accords, I give the Trump administration an enormous amount of credit. I don't agree with a lot of stuff they did, of course, but in this particular case, between the President and David Friedman and the Kirchners and all the people that worked on the Abraham Accords, they did a really, really good job. And our job is to take what they did and make it deeper and broader and make Middle East as safe a possible place for not only Israel, but for everyone here. So thank you all very much, and please eat dinner.
We're going to do one photo with you with ambassadors, all right? And so then we'll have to leave. Before, we just want to tell one thing. There is somebody else here who I have to acknowledge. He is the Deputy Chief of Mission, the Minister Plenipotentiary of Morocco, but he has been a friend of ours for decades, and our visit to Morocco was because of him, and the relationship, a lot of the groundwork was laid by Abdul Ali. I wanted at least to have you stand up, and he'll speak to you in Hebrew if you want, but we thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Ambassador, would you join, the two ambassadors come up for a picture with the ambassador. He wants the picture, he asked for it. He said he doesn't have enough pictures. And Diane?
Where do you want us, Avi? Here, on the stage? Malcolm, Tom, Malcolm, Ambassador, Mr. Malcolm. Come on up. Thank you, well done. Where do you, Avi, how do you want us? Avi, how do you want us?
I'm sitting next to you because I'm
None of us are. Okay.
How do you want us? Me go that way? Say Corona.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. You're not seeing me again. I'm done.
No, we have you tomorrow.
I'm not coming again.
You're coming to the south to see us.
Much smarter than you are.
We are going to serve the main course now and then have a very exciting panel that will be led by Adit Baruch with very special guests. So we ask everybody, please stay in your seats so we can get everyone served right away.